Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about people who get off on the petty enforcement of minor and petty rules and regulations. Now, Dostoevsky mentioned this. I think it was in Crime and Punishment, where there are people, sort of naturally inclined bureaucrats, that seem to really enjoy the power play of petty enforcement. Now, I've known this or came across this, of course, in third world countries, but particularly it was noticeable in India. And Indians coming to Australia bring this with them, this idea of this love, almost this sort of orgasmic delight in enforcing petty rules for no particular reason, just sort of they can, or they've got the power to do it, or they imagine sort of white people are racist, so we'll just hit them with as many petty rules and so on as we can. There are also other sort of issues around it, and I'll sort of cover a few of those, but I come across this constantly, whether it's in postal services, whether it's in courier deliveries, although that seems to be changing a bit, in pharmacies, any public services or public service related, I don't know, renewing a driver's license, it doesn't matter. It seems to be that the Indians are now everywhere you look and involved in all of these things, and it's and I'm noticing that or have noticed for a while now, that just going through your day-to-day bits and pieces, just doing business and doing the things you have to do, it's now much harder to do when you get these Indians involved, because they want to play, and they're prepared to fight to the death, by the way, over petty enforcement. The reason I got recently it came up just a few days ago, was a company that it's kind of a quango, they rely almost exclusively on government contracts. We were doing business with them, but they wanted a few documents put together, really like a sort of a registration document, and there was a minor thing about the signatories on there, and we have two people that, if you like, hold three offices in the company, so that instead of three signatures, there's two. Now that's no big deal. It would pass without comment or issue, but we let out a collective groan when we saw that the person who they put in charge of handling this sort of, I guess you'd call it contractual stuff at the other end, was Indian, and a recent arrival at that. They've been here for quite a while. It's not quite as bad. It's still bad, but not quite as bad. But if they've arrived recently, then they want to just show, they've come to Australia to rescue Australia. That's why they're here. They're not here as freeloaders and being given jobs that they're not needed for, and they're a parasitic waste on Australian society. No. They're brilliant geniuses who've come here to rescue us poor white folks, and quite a few of them actually genuinely have that rather strange point of view, and activists encourage it, and Indian Hindu nationalists in particular encourage it as well. And they really look at themselves as proconsuls in waiting, because it won't be long for Indians to take over here, according to the Hindu nationalists. So they're really just asserting their rightful position at the apex of Australian society. So we let our collective grow. Now, how is it we knew what would happen? We knew what this guy was going to do. How is it we knew that? You damn racist, fascist, Nazi bigot. No. Because we've come across this so often, and I've come across it so often, we knew what this guy was going to do, and we knew it would turn into a drama without us having to lift a finger. So the guy wants to see three signatures on the form, three different people. Now, we explained carefully in an email that two people, that one person holds two of these offices. Therefore, you've got to, if you want, the one person can sign twice, but that's by the by. So anyway, the whole thing's being held up because this guy wants to make a very unique interpretation of what the company policy is. Now we've had, well, if that's the policy, can we see that policy in writing? If it's not in writing, how do you know it's a policy? How do you know it exists as a policy? So we're pushing back, and in order to punish us for daring to push back, he's determined to dig his heels in and I will not allow this, and so he's off doing that sort of stuff. So now we find this in like I look after. And I've got sort of power of attorney, if you will, over an elderly relative to get her medication, collected for her. And she's not in any condition to do the running around for that. So I collect it for her, and I've got so I go in to put the prescriptions in and say, well, this is for so-and-so. My name's Billy Bob, but I've got attorney. And by the way, here's the written document, attorney, which is a legal document, so you're okay with it? Yep, okay, all right then. But the one of the deputy pharmacists on duty is an Indian, and she's quite. So I arrive back an hour later and in a bit of a hurry, and the medication's not ready. Well, why not? So then. There's hustle, and people are whispering and going off and pointing in my direction. It's all very, very serious and so on. And then after a while, an Indian, very thick accent Indian woman comes along, less than 5 foot tall, and says that she's the deputy pharmacist, and says that you can't have this because you didn't show me your permission. Well, I don't have to. I've already shown it when I lodged the thing. So why we did? But you haven't shown me. So I'm saying you can't have the medication until I see it. Well, what does he mean? You didn't even prepare it? I mean, why do we have to go through this? Why do I have to show it twice to get this medication done? So well, it's in the car. I can go and get it, but do you need? I've already shown it to that. And so I pointed to the person I'd shown it to. Oh, no, you have to show it to me. I'm responsible. You have to show it to me. And very determined. You can see the look on her face that she's doing it just to be difficult. There is no other reason or purpose for doing it. And it's just a show of power and an enforcement of a petty rule. So I called the other woman. I was, have you seen that? Yes, I've seen it. I don't care whether she's seen it. You have to show it to me. I'm more important than her. And you bow down before me, you damn fucking white fat. So, okay. So I got to go and get it and come back. No, you can't. You have to go to the back of the queue. You now have to wait, and you have to queue again. And this sort of thing. You go, fuck me. Now, no reasonable person would behave that way. But these are the sort of things that you come across. And she's behaving that way generally. Sort of, that seems to be an entrenched sort of behavior. Most of the people that were coming there, by the way, were other Indians, which I thought was a bit sus, because it's not a neighbourhood that's all Indians or anything, but were other Indians, and they were fine. But I wondered if were they bribing her or something? I mean, she's got the classic backsheesh thing, which is bribery, Indians for bribery. So when I used to go around those parts of the world and India and so on, if you wanted to get something done, a simple thing, anything through the bureaucracy, they would always just say, well, it can't be done, or it's going to take 100 years, and then you would have to bribe them. And because of the way things worked, with these international companies, you would have someone who would do that for you, so you wouldn't get your hands dirty. So you would go to a Christian or something and say, listen, slip $20 to so and so. Nor was the bribery expensive necessarily, but they just plain wouldn't do it unless they got a bribe or something. And this was very much how it was. And they brought those attitudes to Australia. Now, I don't know if they're all soliciting bribes, but this idea of it can't be done, it's going to take a million years for it to get done. And you see it in all things. Also, the entrapment is a little bit annoying. Like you go for a to do your driver's license thing, you got to over a certain age, you got to do an eye test and all that sort of thing. So the tricks with that. Do you want to go and I haven't got my proper glasses here. I didn't know you wanted me to read the third line. Normally I read this line. Well, no, I have the power to say you have to read the third line. Well, shit, I didn't bring my glass. I'll need the glasses for that. Well, in that case, I will have to fail you. And if you fail the next time, then you will not be able to get the driver's license. You don't need to do this, you dickhead. But this is very much how, and I'm not saying every one of them is like that. You know, some are not as difficult as that at all. But there seems to be a genuine Indian thing about love of bureaucracy and imposition of petty. It can't be big rules. It can't be serious stuff. It's the petty stuff that they love enforcing. Now, I've noticed that you know, if you do some serious groveling and prostration, they may in their, you know, their greatness let you off the hook. But really, that love of bureaucracy, and I find it in almost every or not every instance, but certainly in the vast majority of instances, I find the same sort of thing. So now I assume people have done it to them. Maybe that's their culture. That's how it is, and they just export that you know, very unfortunate aspect of their own culture of Australia, because they come and talk to the West generally, because they come in such numbers, and the government has the view that they want to massively expand all government bureaucracies at state and federal and all levels in order to give these people, these Indians, jobs. You know, people who aren't needed. I mean, they bring no benefit. They bring no added value that I can see to Australia, or to anywhere in the West for that matter. But the deal's been done that India can export its surplus population all around the Western world, and Australia is getting, you know, millions of Indians coming here to you know, being as immigrants, and none of them could get a job on their own merits. They all have to be gifted jobs in the government and through affirmative action programs and racial quota programs and so on. But I've noticed this rather unfortunate aspect of Indian behaviour here. I don't know whether other people have noticed it, but it's something that because they're so widespread now, it's very hard to go about your daily business without coming across these. If I can avoid them, I will. But you know, there are times when you just have to do business with them and have to deal with them, and these are the consequences and the fallout. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.